waiting, and we are live. Okay, so I'm really excited. Of course, he's going to do that. Okay, so I'm really excited. It's been a long time since I have been on my YouTube channel because I've had a lot of other things that I've been doing. But I'm really excited to have Katie on here today because today we're going to be talking about referral marketing. And I know Katie's got a couple of quick updates. And by the way, if you're here, drop a hello in the chat. I see we've already got like a whole bunch of people that are commenting. Oh, we had people that were waiting for 20 minutes for us to start. That's like some dedication. Hi. Okay. So yeah, say hi if you're here. And then I know Katie's got some really exciting updates for her uh, Facebook group, Xiao Hung Su for Teachers. So would you like to talk about that, Katie?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Gillian. And I thought it'd be really great to have a chat and a bit of a catch up because as some of you guys may know, I'm the admin of, well, both of us are actually admin of the WeChat and Xiaohongshu for Online Teachers Facebook group. And we launched it, what was it, about 2 years ago, Gillian? Must have been about 2 years ago, just less than 2 years, I think.
I'm not quite sure. I can look. I'll look while you're talking.
Cool. Yeah, I think it was about 2 years or so ago. And Gillian was actually the person who helped me launch the Facebook group and encouraged me and supported me with getting it all started and that kind of thing. And what's really exciting is that we've reached a big milestone of 10,000 members in the Facebook group. 1 year. No, it must have been 1 year. It was before I went to Japan.
Okay. Well,
I think it's less than 2 years, somewhere between 1 and 2 years then.
Yeah, it hasn't been a full 2 years yet.
Yeah, wow. But anyway, in less than 2 years, we've reached 10,000 members, which is just so exciting. And yeah, I sort of reached out to Julie saying, thank you so much for helping me get the Facebook group started because, it's her support and mentoring and everything that really helped with that. And yeah, super exciting. There's some great announcements, exciting events and things coming in the group. And thought it'd be cool to have a bit of a catch up.
Okay. And I want to apologize because I look like a bum today. I was just out in the garden. It's going to be raining soon. I wanted to get my plants in the garden. That's another thing that I've been working on, a big project myself. I have another YouTube channel, which is almost monetized. It's for my homesteading stuff. So if you guys ever want to go check that out, if you're interested in like gardening and goats and cows and pigs and all of that stuff. I have a small little farm, and that's a big project that I've been working on is getting my second YouTube channel monetized. But I'll put the link for that is in the description box. It's Only Goats Farm. Kind of started as a like OnlyFans kind of thing for my goats because they're freeloaders. But yeah, so I think those are our big announcements. And then we have for Katie's Facebook group, the link to that is also in the description box. And she's got some really cool things that are coming up next week, which are going to teach about referral marketing, right? So today we're going to really dive in and talk about what referral marketing is, how Katie does it. I'll pitch in and like add in how I do my own referral marketing as well. If anybody has any comments or questions about it, that's what the chat box is for. So feel free to leave comments and questions. And I guess we'll have Katie kick it off by explaining what are you talking about when you say referral marketing?
Sure. So this is something I think a lot of teachers are kind of missing a trick on because, like, when we think about finding students, we normally focus on like social media marketing. A lot of people just talk about social media, right? Like the place to find students is on social media. But actually, I looked back and thought about all of my previous students that I've had and when I first started independent teaching. And actually, my first students came through referrals. So I'm not talking about referral marketing. I'm talking about how you can find students. Oh, your face has gone like big. Got up from there. I'm talking about like how you can find students through referrals and encouraging your current students or other people, in fact, entirely, to recommend friends who could be suited for your online teaching. And actually, if you look at the stats, it's up to 5 times more effective than social media marketing. Requires a lot less effort, a lot less energy, lot less of this consistently posting all the time. Like, I don't know about who's joining us here in the chat, but I know sometimes it can be quite exhausting just posting constantly on social media, trying to find students. You have to be consistent. You're constantly keeping top of the messages. You're trying to come up with new content ideas. You're doing video editing. You're making all these beautiful Canva graphics and stuff, and it's taking like hours hours of time, sometimes every day, teachers are spending trying to find students on social media. And actually, I think referral marketing is something that is a lot quicker, a lot easier, a lot less effort, and more effective.
So, in your opinion, does referral marketing work in every market for every teacher, or does it work better for like specific teachers and specific markets, like China versus not China? Does it work in both? Like, what do you think?
I genuinely think this works worldwide. Like, it can work anywhere. When I first started teaching independently, I was actually like doing tutoring here in the UK. This was back in 2013, like a long time ago. And I started independent teaching. My first student came through a referral. My second student also came through a referral. So it was working just in the UK market, right? When I went back to independent teaching quite a few years later, there's a bit of a gap because I worked abroad for a bit and I was doing like teaching with companies, that kind of thing. Went back to independent teaching in 2021. And again, my first student came through a referral, and that was a student from China. So it's sort of it's something that relies on a network of some connections of some kind for sure. But wherever you have contacts, you could get referrals.
So, do you, for your referral program, do you ask for referrals or do they just come naturally? Is there like some trick that you have?
So I think definitely asking helps. That would be like kind of my trick as such is you've got to encourage people. You've got to also incentivize it to some extent and make it easy for people to recommend. But actually, if I think back to when I both those times I went independent, I didn't even ask for those referrals, the first ones that I got. They literally came from people directly reaching out to me because they knew that I could be someone who would be suitable for teaching a particular student that they had in mind. Um, but I would recommend being a bit more active about it than I was initially. And because if you actively ask people, then that makes them think a bit more and then they'll take action rather than waiting for other people to show the initiative.
So, I personally started my own referral marketing. I have never had a system in place per se where it's like kind of like a punch card or like some of those other things that happen, like rewards. I've done all of mine organically just through other means. And when I say organic, for those that don't know, it means like I'm not paying to get those referrals. Um, there are different levels where you could do it, where you could have like a reward system where you basically pay your students to refer them, you give them a reward. How do you do it?
So this is something I'm going to talk a bit more actually in the boot camp, which I'm going to mention a little sneaky kind of mention for people to check it out. We're going to talk a lot more in the boot camp, actually a whole session talking about like how to incentivize referrals. I actually personally think that financial incentives are not the most effective. And similarly, things like giving free classes, which in a way is a similar concept. It still costs you money. It costs you time, and time is money to give a free class, right? Even free classes, I don't think, are very good incentives for someone to recommend a friend. Because, again, I think it depends a bit on your target market. But in my case, I'm targeting like international school students or students who want to come study abroad. They tend to be quite well off families who've got a lot of money. So trying to persuade them to recommend a friend because I'm going to give them some more money or because I'm going to give them a free class doesn't mean much to them because a free class is nothing. The cost of that, nothing for them. Um, what I'd be able to give them in terms of a financial incentive, again, it's not worth it for the effort it takes them to recommend someone. So I think, and again, we'll talk a lot more about it in the bootcamp. I think these sort of referral incentives have got to be a bit more personal and a bit more unique and something that feels special for the child, not just a sort of financial incentive.
That's a really good point too, because I think a lot of people they are like they've got their niche down. Okay, so there's like different levels here. So like you start teaching and you have no idea what you're doing, and you become that like generalized teacher that can't get high paying students because you don't have your niche down. And then you get your niche down and you're able to charge more, but you're doing a referral program based on what you've seen in like VIP Kid and Palefish and all of that. Um, and Cambly and all those companies that have referrals for the students, but then you kind of stick yourself back into the lower paying bracket there by offering that referral program, because that's who you're going to attract with those, is the people who, okay, well, I want to get free classes, so I'm going to refer a bunch of people. um, that's a really good point there. So whereas if it's personalized to give the kids something, especially if you're teaching kids, if it's personalized to give the kids something, then like it doesn't matter if it's like a $10 value, you're giving the kid something, you're giving that student something. And as a parent, I'm sure that anybody here that's a parent, like stuff for your kid is awesome, right? Like they're your pride and joy. That's your heart. So it's really like hitting the parents where it matters. It's really getting it to where it matters,
That's the thing. It's about figuring out what they actually care about and what they value, um, and what's important to them. I think what your point about like those mass market companies like Powerfish, we both used to teach with Powerfish before. They had one of those sort of referral schemes, refer a friend, get a free class. And I'm pretty sure platforms like Cambly do too. And they are low priced. Those companies, the amount they charge the parents is relatively low compared to what you as an independent teacher would be looking for, because they're targeting mass market, right? Scale up, loads and loads of people. Doesn't matter they're paying a low price because they're reaching thousands of students. But as independent teachers, we are specialists. We are targeting like a high value niche, and you've got to think about what they value, which is not the money because they've got enough of that already.
Yeah. And then Avi said that these big companies, they blurred our vision to think that it's mandatory to offer a free class, and it's really not. And um, it's kind of like making yourself like the Walmart versus like some high end product here. Um, it's not something people if people wanted if people wanted to get those free classes and everything, they're going to use those big programs that have the names to it. They're not going to be going with some teacher. And then it kind of makes you look like you're desperate and can't get a lot of students if you're giving like free classes. I'm not saying it works for some teachers, right? But it's going to be a lot harder to have a successful referral program if you're just giving out free classes and that's not what your niche is looking to be. It's going to be harder to do it. Yeah.
You end up just attracting those kind of freeloaders, I think, and they're never going to be good, like long-term paying clients. So you don't want them in the first place. And it's interesting because I think that also applies not just to like a referral incentive of a free class, but also like a free trial class for new students. Offering free trials, I also don't think is a very, I have mixed opinions on it again, but I think particularly if it's people who come, if it's come off social media or something, I definitely would never offer a free trial because this is some randomer, no idea who they are, no real connection. So they're just looking for free trials a lot of the time. Not all of them, but by the time you're given 10 or 20 free trials to get one student, it's time wasting, because
I
you attract the
do
wrong kind of people.
I do free trials, but I don't do my, and for those of you that are in Teacher Boss Society, we talked about this last month, but when I do free trials, I don't do it like hey, here's a free trial. I do it kind of as an event. So like it's a trial lesson, but I don't call it a trial lesson. It's a hey, everybody, come join me for this free lesson on whales. We're doing a free lesson on whales. Okay. It's a group lesson. It's free. Anybody can join. You collect their email. You start the email marketing process. You teach them about whales. And then at the end you say, hey, I've got these spots for these group lessons. And that's kind of how I shifted into group lessons as well. um, but I would never, ever, ever do a one-on-one free trial lesson. And if you do choose to do a one-on-one free trial lesson, you are never to take their curriculum because they like to bounce. They
Mm-mm.
like to say, okay, can you do a free trial lesson? I want you to teach this book, chapter 4, page 107. And then you do the lesson and you end at chapter 4, page 120. And they go to the next teacher. Can you teach this trial lesson? Um,
Yeah.
and honestly, that really only happens. I've only ever seen that happen in the Chinese marketplace. We've kind of trained them to scam us. So we have to retrain them. They look at English teachers a lot of times like, okay, they're desperate. They'll do this because they're desperate. So especially if you're working in the Chinese marketplace, you need to step it up. Know your value, know your worth. If you don't know it, pretend you know it, because it's going to come off. If you're showing that you're desperate, they're going to see that and you're going to get taken advantage of.
Yeah, and I sometimes see teachers posting on apps like Xiaohongshu, and they'll post like a picture of their empty schedule, and they say classes available, free trial, sign up now or something. And like, you've just told everyone you're failing to get students because you've got a big empty schedule, and you're so desperate you're going to give out free trials to anyone who's interested. It doesn't sound like a good strategy. No,
No, no.
the free trials thing. I'm with you on the idea of doing a group kind of session. I think that's a great idea. Another thing that I've had a limited amount of success with, I've tried a bit, and actually one of the companies I used to teach with, a UK company, used to do this, which was to offer like a free meeting with a parent. So it wouldn't be a class, it would be like a consultation. You talk to the parent about what their goals are for their child, and what kind of tutoring and things they're looking for. But that's because they were focused on sort of tutoring as opposed to teaching, which is a different kind of approach. And again, they were sort of slightly higher priced than the sort of mass market companies. But
Consultations,
yeah,
yeah, consultations are fine too, especially if you are doing it in like a large package or, it's a higher price point. Um, I have never personally had a referral program. Um, I tried back like in the day, I had tried to have a referral program. I made all the mistakes that I just told you guys not to do, where it's like, oh, like kind of like a punch card thing, right? It ended up being a lot to track. Especially in the Chinese marketplace where, affiliate marketing essentially is a little harder, for payouts and stuff. You can't use those programs that you can use for a lot of different things. It was a lot to track. It was a pain in the butt. Um, and it didn't get me high quality students at all. I got students out of it, but they weren't high quality students. Um, I guess there's like a whole bunch of different ways to do your referral marketing. I did all my referral marketing. I did like organically. I stopped tracking. I didn't do any like, um, get a free, I don't know, coloring book, or I'd like something like, I didn't do like, free anything. Like they wouldn't get a free anything for referring a certain number of students. I just provided quality groups on WeChat, and I kind of did like group referral marketing where I would have these quality groups, and then they would invite their friends to join the group. And, after 500 people, I was opening up my second, my third, my fourth, my fifth group. Um, I don't like it on WeChat because it ends up being a lot of work like that. But that's how I did my referral marketing. Was I kind of just like gave them a place to send people, and then I got the students from there. Um, do you do that, or is yours like different?
yeah. So again, there's different ways of setting things up, and I agree with you that the group thing, that's like a WeChat group strategy that works really well. Is like when you run a group that's a great place that people want to be in, and you're running great events in the group, or you're posting lots of great resources, you're making a great learning space. People want to invite their friends, and just the occasional reminder of, we got an event coming up. Why don't you invite your friends so they can enjoy the event too? Is a great way to get people into your group for free. And actually, if you actually look at the members list in your group, you can actually see who invited people to. So it does sort of track things, if you wanted to keep track. It's more for the point of, I think, looking for scammers, I think, is why they've introduced that feature, by the way. So like you can see who invited people, so that if you see a scammers in your group, you can see how they got in the group and then remove the person who invited them as well. I think that's the point of it. But it means you can track to a certain extent where people came from into the group. But yeah, I wouldn't actually incentivize those group, as you say, it's like free organic leads into a WeChat group, or any kind of group. You can do this on Facebook groups, and any kind of group system like that, which is great. And actually, I like what you said about quality. And I think that doesn't just refer to this group sort of strategy, but any kind of referral marketing. The number one requirement is that you're giving high quality, good classes. I sometimes see teachers be like, "Oh, I don't know why no one's recommending their friends. Like, I have this grand scheme. I'm paying them all this money to make referrals, all these kind of things. They've got this complicated setup. Some of them got these automated tracking things for trying to like manage referrals." And I'm like, "Wow, you've got it all over the top, but how is your teaching?" And they're like, well, I got some feedback, but then this student left, and then that other student left, and then they didn't want any more classes." And I'm like, well, maybe the problem is the teaching. And I think the number one requirement before you even jump into any kind of anything really, marketing of any kind, but particularly referrals, that depends so much on trust, is high quality classes. And ultimately, like when I first started, going way back to what I was saying before about my very first student came from a referral, um, I wasn't incentivizing at all. I didn't even know I wanted to be an independent teacher at the time, right? It was just a random person messaged me, be like, "Oh, I have a friend." I say random person. It was a contact within my network who knew I was good at what I did. but they just reached out to me because they knew I was good at what I did. So I think that's the first requirement, for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I won't say a lot of people. So there are some people that go into teaching and like they're good teachers. Like they have to fine tune some things, but they have it in them. Some people go into teaching because they think it's like a easy job to do. And, you either have it or you don't have it naturally. If you don't have it naturally, that doesn't mean that you can't do it, but you really need to focus on learning how to become a good teacher. Um, same thing with I don't want to like put out there for like non-native speakers, because there are really 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 good non-native English speakers, and they're good teachers. uh and you also have like people that are American, born and raised American, that don't know they're there versus there, so um I think that's my boyfriend yesterday. He was like, "Wow." He was like, "You wrote a post on Facebook." He was like, he was like, I'm like impressed." He's like, "It's like well written, all the grammar's right." He was like, "I'm still over there trying to figure out which there to use." So like just because you're American doesn't mean that um you're going to be a good teacher. Just because you're non-native doesn't mean you're going to be a bad teacher. But you have to keep in mind that if you can't speak English properly, you need to learn how to do that before you can teach. Especially like you've got people out there that you could tell from their Facebook posts that they shouldn't be teaching grammar, and they're grammar teachers. And I'm not saying a Facebook post has to be like grammatically correct. Not everybody is like that online, but you can generally tell someone who, you know, if you're like that, then you need to brush up on your English, no matter what it is, like read, to take classes yourself, watch YouTube videos, watch movies, like read. um
I think ultimately as well, it's about like teaching what you're an expert in. So if you're someone who you know that you're not yet there with your English or whatever it is that you're teaching, you don't have to be teaching English. Like I'm sure there's people in the chat who are teaching other subjects too. Like when I first started out, I was a science teacher. Okay, and actually, that's a good example. When I first started out, I was still a student myself. Okay, I was tutoring science. I was still a university student myself. So I was definitely not an expert in teaching science. Okay, I hadn't done any teaching qualifications. I didn't even have my degree yet. Okay, I'd barely finished high school. So on paper, I didn't have any of those sort of expertise. But instead, I branded myself more as like a mentor and a sort of study support kind of person who's there to help kids learn from how I learned science rather than me being an expert in science, if that makes sense. So I think if you look at, say, for example, people who are non-native speaker and they know they're still working on their English a bit, and that's fine. Instead of branding themselves as an English teacher, instead they could just be a study coach, a languages study coach. And I follow actually quite a lot of people on Instagram. I've even taken classes from people for like Chinese and Japanese learning, who they themselves were not native speakers of Chinese or Japanese. But I'm taking classes with them because I know they know the strategies to be good at learning languages. And they don't just teach me the language, they teach me this is how you can use your flashcards more effectively, or like this is how you can like these are the websites I recommend for looking up grammar rules or something. Different. They're the ones who know the strategies for learning. Sorry, a bit of a rambling explanation, but like brand yourself as a study coach rather than as a subject teacher, perhaps.
yes, and teach something that you feel comfortable teaching too. Like if you're not comfortable teaching English, uh, teach something else. Teach science, or teach. Maybe you're not comfortable. Like okay. So you speak English well, but not well enough to like teach the subject, but you understand it. Teach something like learning through novels, and do like reading groups where you don't have to have proper grammar to dissect a novel and talk about the similes and the metaphors, and like what Shakespeare actually meant when he was writing Romeo and Juliet. Like you can still teach English in other ways, but you're not going to get a lot of referrals if you are saying, I'm an English teacher, and then your advertisement says free trail lesson. Like,
I've
it's
seen
just,
that quite a lot as well. I think partly it's an autocorrect thing, but
I
I see
know.
quite often people writing things like that, and you're like,
And
maybe.
that's not just from people that can't speak English well. It is an autocorrect thing, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to get, you guys have all seen it, right? If I'm going to guess the majority of you are in Facebook groups and you've all seen it. Somebody comes in and they're like, "Hi, how do I get English students?" And you read it and it looks like a Nigerian prince has written it. Like it's like one of those emails, and it's like, okay, like you're not there yet. And I'm not trying to discourage anyone from teaching. You still have something that of value that you can provide potential students, but you can't you can't do it with someone who um what do I want you can't market yourself for something that you can't teach and then expect people to be sending other people. Plus you're
Yeah.
doing them a disservice. If
Mm.
you're teaching them all the wrong things. And I've had that before where I've had students come to me and they're like, "Oh no, my English teacher told me this." And it's like, oh boy, how do I nicely say that they were wrong? You know,
And it's interesting because if you look on social media, like where the students are, so if you look, for example, on Xiaohongshu, and I quite often get things popping up that other people have posted related to like English learning, and I will see parents who've taken clips from classes and they'll share it on Xiaohongshu, and they say, "I'm not sure about this teacher. What do you think of their accent?" And then I have a whole bunch of people commenting that, "Oh, their accent was a bit rubbish," or "They need to work on this," or "Actually, their teaching wasn't very good because of this." And like parents do look for the opinions of other people, and it's not just on social media. We see that because it's on social media, but they'll also be showing their friends, and they'll be saying, "Look at this teacher, like I'm not sure, what do you think?" And they'll say, "Oh yeah, they're a bit rubbish." But what you want them to do is say, "Oh yeah, they're great," and in which case you've got another referral. So I think being an expert in what you do is really important. And if English isn't the thing you're an expert in, and lots of people, even native speakers, are not experts in English, okay, think about what you are an expert in and how you can use that to your advantage.
so does anybody else have any questions about referral marketing, or has anybody, like, pop in the chat here and let us know, like, if you have any questions about referral marketing, or if you have a program up right now, like, anything that you guys have all been like super quiet here for the most part here. Um,
See, Ivy said
I
about it being a good idea to start with a company. Yeah, that
Yeah,
comment.
yeah, she said it's a good idea to start as a newbie teaching with a company instead of trying to go indie from scratch. You would gain the most valuable teaching experience and even find your niche. Um, I think I think she's got a really good point there. When you're starting out as a teacher, if you don't have online teaching experience and you don't have business experience, it's going to be really hard to learn everything. If you have started a business from scratch before, then you probably don't need to do this. But if you're to try to learn everything at once, it's going to make it a lot harder for you to be successful.
Yeah.
So I would say if I would say I agree with Ivy on that. If you do not have experience starting a business from scratch, if you've done that before, then you know all the, how to find your niche, how to market yourself, how to set up your referral programs, how to do all of that, how to do your social media, how to run ads if you're doing that. But yeah,
But I
if
also say as well that working with a company is a good way to get to know more about the market. Like, you could be someone who set up a business before, but your business was in something completely unrelated, and the education market is different. So I think sometimes working with a company, even if it's literally just for a short term, a few months, gives you an insight into how they run things and how their advertising works, and what you can have an opportunity to talk to parents and see what was it that attracted parents to that specific company, and what could you do better, what don't they like about the company, like get feedback from them. I think it is useful to start out with a company, not just for gaining obviously the teaching expertise, and they train you up. Companies are great. I thought I was great at teaching until I started working with companies, and I was like, oh wow, like they got some really great training programs. You get to see other teachers and how they teach things. You learn a lot from it. But yeah, financially you want to go independent at some point.
I like the I like the method too. There's kind of like a middle method there too, where you can start your independent business and start teaching at the same time. Kind of like have your working hours. So, like, okay, I'm going to be working from 9 to 5. These are my working hours. And um, whenever you don't have classes scheduled from your independent business, kind of fill them with like Cambly's a good filler for that, kind of fill them with like, maybe you got some all school classes or some out school classes or some Cambly or some, so you have your schedule filled even before you have fully gone independent. And then as the need arises, you can kind of just drop off some of those other classes that are with the companies because they're going to get booked by, because you're getting more here.
I used to do
And
that with family, like when I was first sort of making that switch, when the Chinese companies all shut down and stuff. I already had Cambly as like a backup for when people didn't book a time with me on Powfish, because I could just turn up on Cambly. And the pay was terrible, but like $10 is better than nothing. So, you could just rock up and earn some money with very little effort. And then when all the Chinese companies got shut down, and I still had other companies I was working with, I had our own tutoring program, all this other stuff I was doing. But when I did have those bits of spare time, you can just jump on a platform like Cambly, fill in those spare hours. Cambly's a good one because it's zero commitment, and they don't like fine you for cancellations and stuff, unlike some other companies.
yeah.
But yeah,
And I also think that it's it's not a bad idea to work with a company, even if you are really, really good at running a business, if you don't know anything about teaching, because you're going to get content ideas. So
yeah,
when my social media marketing, it's not just like, hey, take a class with me. It's let me tell you a story about what we learned in class today. Let me tell you something. Let me teach you something in this, in this short or this reel or this TikTok video. Let me teach you something that I learned that all my students need to know because I keep having to reteach this. It's going to give you ideas on what you need to be saying to the people, um, to kind of get students in.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also a way of getting, like you say, the stories for like student success stories and some testimonials to a certain extent. I mean, you have to check the platform with their policies and some of this stuff, but you can talk about the students you taught. You don't need to mention it was with a company. You can just be like, oh, one of my students recently did blah blah blah, and this is what we learned, and this is how I helped them, implying in a way that it's your independent students, even though it's through a company, and that can help you with the marketing side.
Katie, the other Katie, says that she's working on creating book clubs on Facebook and hoping that the first group will be great and lead to referrals. That's a really good idea. You could also add into it affiliate marketing. So if you're doing this, I would go and get get your Amazon affiliate. And so that way, if you're saying, hey, we're going to be reading this book, you can get it here on Amazon, and then you're also getting paid by people that are not even your students who just decide to read the book along with you. So maybe you have some. That's how I would do it if I were to do a Facebook group.
Yeah,
So for a book club, I would say this month our book of the month is A Child Called It. We're gonna read this. Here's where you can get the book. We'll have like weekly discussions about it, and then for the English lessons, those will start the English lessons that are based around the book club or the reading lessons or whatever. Those will start on this date. So that way you get a lot of organic referrals coming into your book club because you're adding a lot of value in there. And you're also getting the the affiliate marketing, the referral marketing, and then your paid lessons for it as well. So that's how I would do that. That's a really good idea. She
yeah,
said, good idea. I'm going to be sending them links from Amazon to buy the physical or Kindle book. Yes. So if you're going to be doing that anyways, go become an Amazon affiliate because you can do it. And like you've got a YouTube channel. I can't see what your YouTube channel is here right now, but it doesn't look like a personal one. It looks like a business one. So that I would also be taking little things from the books that you're going to be reading, why you might want to read this, how this book is going to help with their issue, like their learning difficulties or whatever it is. Like, I don't know your niche well enough, but I would also be creating shorts on your YouTube channel, maybe long form content, and maybe you're already doing this, but long form content for a summer reading list. Create an email opt-in for a summer reading list for whatever this is. So when you make your long form content, say, by the way, I've got my I have my reading list, my summer reading list that you can download right here. Click it. It's free. Mention that in your YouTube video, and now you're growing your email list. Sorry, that was a lot to just spit out there. But I get excited when I see people with ideas, and um, I go
I
a
think the
little off.
key thing there is basically having multiple streams where people are coming in from, so YouTube and Facebook or wherever, like wherever your audience is, bring them all together. And as you're saying, like have multiple places you're going to direct them to in terms of making money going forward. Um,
Yes.
the key thing is like getting people off your YouTube and Facebook and everything onto your email list because you own your email list, and then sending the kind of links and things. I think Facebook is really great for like a community. YouTube is really great for reach and reaching like a wider audience, and then email is very good for like more targeted actual marketing. So bringing these all together.
So I need to do better on my YouTube. Okay, read with teacher Katie. I'm gonna like just address you by full name because there's two Katies here. Um, if you have an idea that makes me derail like that, you're on the right track. Because I get like that's kind of what I do in my coaching. I get really excited. I'm like, yes, and let's do this and let's do this. And that's what you did. So I'm gonna tell you right now that what your idea is right now, that's a really good idea. Go 110% in on it because there are a million things that you can do with it once you hone in and figure out how to do it. You're onto something, do it. So yes, I just want to let you know that if you derail me like that, then you've gotten me excited because you have a good idea. Okay. I just want to let you know that. Okay. Brenda said it's best to put your eggs in various baskets, let them market you as well. It helps you stay in the game. You can see what makes them successful. Yeah. And you can also, if you're going to be doing your own private business, make your teacher name match your social media handles. So if you're teaching off of an alias, you don't have to be, well, I guess I'm not even Jillian Shanahan anymore. I got a divorce, by the way. So if you see my personal account, I haven't quite decided how I'm going to brand myself because I've been Jillian Shanahan business wise for a really long time. But yes, got a divorce last week, finally. Um, but if you're teaching with an alias and, choose something that's like, make up a name that's like easy if your company allows you to do it, that's like easy to remember but like hard to find. So don't make your alias be Jane Smith, because that's not very, like, there's going to be a million of you, Mike Smith, Jane Smith, John Jones, right? I also want to do an alias like my name actually is Jillian. Oh, sorry. Jillian Plots. I'm waiting for it to come through here. Jillian Plots, which is a not very like easy to do. It's a German name. But do something that's like Veronica. I don't know, like Um, Veronica English, right? Okay. Easy to remember. There's probably not a lot of Veronica Englishes out there. Veronica English is out there. Um,
I think it's also good if it can link to what your niche is.
yeah.
Like, I don't know, Tom Reading Wizard or something, if you're someone who teaches
Yeah.
reading. Like
Yeah.
try and make it link if you
Online
can
teacher
to what you
dude.
offer.
Online teacher dude, right? So
It's got a
like
great
that,
name.
yeah. So that way when you are, and I know his name is not online teacher dude when he goes and like teaches at like, Cambly or something. I don't know where he teaches, but it's not online teacher dude there. But I'm just kind of making a reference. So now you're kind of getting those people to follow you over on your social media platforms, and they're going to start your viewer base there, and they're going to help you build up your clientele. You might even get them as private students, and it's not really stealing if they found you themselves, you know, if you did a good
I've
job.
had that happen as well, like from companies. sometimes it was the other way though. Sometimes they found me on social media and then they messaged me on Cambly. And I'm like, I don't even teach with Cambly anymore. Why are you messaging me here? And they're like, oh, but I looked up your name here because I thought you might teach here because I like classes on Cambly. I'm like, well, I don't like classes on Cambly, so go back to Xiaohongshu and message me there, please. Like,
Mhm.
but yeah, quite often I've had it where people have found me through a company I used to teach with, like Cambly or Outschool even, and Powerfish, and then they've messaged me separately, or they found my email address somehow. I don't know where they're finding it, but they email me being like, hey, do you offer classes? I'm like, I do. Where did you hear about me from?
Probably your YouTube channel if you're using the same name.
Yeah,
That's
that
another
helps
really
too.
good reason to use aliases when you work with a company. Um, Actually, I wish that I would have done it when I started. I switched over and I do it now. But first of all, in America, you are not private. So, like, I am a homeowner. That means, and I shouldn't even say this out loud because, somebody can go and do it now. I can give you the idea, but like, as a homeowner, you could type in my address or you could type in my name and a general idea of where I live, and then boom, you know where I live. There's some crazy, if anybody's seen Baby Reindeer, there's some crazy people
That
out
does
there.
not sound like a good policy.
They do
Is
that.
this
They
an American thing? You have to have your addresses public.
they publish it. It's like on Google, yeah.
Huh.
So there are a lot of things like that, and then you don't want them finding like your personal profile, and
Mm.
your personal information. If you can keep it separate, it's a lot easier to manage, and you can use it to brand yourself. So I would highly suggest, this is like way off track here, but for anybody starting, I would highly suggest teaching with an alias, because it's better for a lot of different reasons. And you get
Yeah,
to
I
try.
think like for me, I've always just stuck my name. I feel like my name's easy to remember, so I've gone with it. But I agree with you because, like for example, like my sister got married recently, so her surname changed, and like just like you getting divorced recently, your surname changed. So then you're stuck with that awkward situation of do you keep the previous surname because that's what people knew, and that's how they're going to find you more easily, or do you change it to your new surname because then that's actually correct? And when it comes to relationships and stuff, it seems a bit weird if you haven't changed the name publicly. But if you got an alias in the first place, doesn't matter. You don't have that kind of deliberation. Um, but yeah, and also as a classroom teacher, we were not allowed to like share, like contact and connect with students outside of school. Right, that's like in our contract, and I'm pretty sure that's the same in most countries around the world. Right, teachers are not allowed to share their personal details with students and talk outside of school for a whole range of safeguarding reasons. But that also meant that when I was tutoring, I was not allowed to advertise my tutoring around like the school where I was teaching. Anywhere in that district, like could not advertise. And I was always very nervous a bit about posting things online. Like I made all of my social media profiles private and changed the name. Like my Instagram name is something really random because I didn't want students looking me up and finding me on social media. And I don't know, some students are a bit crazy. So if you have got an alias in the first place, you can still have that personal brand and not have those sort of other issues. Yeah, I did not know about the address thing though. That's crazy. We have in the UK, if you've got a company, the company address is public. But that's why my business's address is actually registered to my accountant, and that's very common. Like if you don't actually have an office, everyone registers their business with their accountant's office, um, because you don't want your personal like address to be publicly on the internet.
Your address is not it's not like public. Like, I can't just go out and like, find, like, read with teacher Katie. If I know her name, I can't just find her address.
Mm,
But um if you buy a house, those
mm.
transactions, so if you are a homeowner, those transactions are public.
We
um
have, now you
Criminal
mention that,
records,
because when
yeah.
I bought this place, there was some records and things. I got a letter from the solicitor saying something about some records being updated, but I think you have to pay to access those records. They're public in the sense that they exist, um, but you have to pay to look up someone in the records or something like that in the UK.
Oh, you can
It's
just
not
find
like
them.
easy to find.
Well, the UK, I've learned a lot from maybe reindeer recently, but the UK has like more privacy laws, and
Yeah.
I already knew that because of email marketing. But the UK has more privacy laws, even than the like criminal records. You can't just like Google if somebody's been arrested. That's like kept
No,
private
you
for.
have to do an actual check, and they have to approve the check. And yeah.
Yeah, and like here, like you can just like I can just be like Katie Prescott arrest, and I'll see if she's ever been arrested, which is really
I mean,
really
if it's in the news, I guess things would come up. Like if you did some kind of crime that actually got in the news, then it'll be in newspapers. As long as you're over, I think 18, they can publish your name.
yeah,
But
but all of that stuff.
normal like minor issues, you can't
even
search
even
up
minor
people's
even
police
minor
records. No.
issues, yeah, even minor issues, they publish everything. So like
Oh.
I can go right now into the
Mm.
Erie County courthouse, like into the Erie County court or Erie County holding center. It's like I don't know if you know what a holding center is, but it's like before you go to jail you go in a holding center. It's kind of like a okay, so I can go and look in the Erie County Holding Center. There's an app for it. I don't have it on my phone, so I don't know why I'm holding my phone up. But I can look and see who is currently in the holding center. So if I'm like, oh my God, the cops are at my neighbor's house. Did something happen? I can wait a couple hours to see if they got booked and I can go and look. Like, there's no
That sounds
privacy.
like a massive invasion of privacy. We don't have that here. No, at least I
Yeah.
don't think we do. I mean, I've never been arrested, so I've never had to worry about these things. But you know,
I've never,
uh,
you can, I'm in America, so you can actually go and look and see that I've never been arrested.
crazy.
Uh,
We have a
yeah,
very complicated police check system, actually. I'm going through the process of it because I'm hosting some exchange students this summer, and they had to do obviously police check to check that I'm a safe person for them to leave minors like living with me in the summer, obviously. But it's taken like 2 months at least already for them to go through the police check process because they have to apply, I have to approve, and I fill out forms and paperwork and all kinds of stuff to allow them to access the police record database. And then some idiot in the police office is taking forever to do the paperwork, so it's taking ages.
I would
But yeah,
hate to be a single woman in Europe and be doing online dating because we do that. Like that's like maybe it's not a thing that you do there, but here, if you're single and you're gonna go on a date with somebody, you're on Google, you're on their Facebook, you find everything out. Like you can know everything about them. I can know they're a homeowner, I can know where they work, I can all for free on Google. I can know like if they've ever gotten arrested and I
that's
yeah.
wild. I
So
know. I guess a lot of people put that stuff online anyway, right? If you've got like LinkedIn, then your employment history is probably going to be pretty public. But um, we do have privacy laws. I feel like the US is somewhat
some people
restrictive
are
in
like
this.
proud of it. I
Mm.
had somebody sent me somebody I knew from high school. They sent me how if you like there's a Facebook page and you can invite your friends to like that Facebook page. Somebody I knew from high school invited me to follow this Facebook page that was a law enforcement agency from a local town. I'm like, why would you be inviting me to like that? Like, that's weird. What's going on? I go and look, and 2 posts down the line was his arrest thing. I'm like, why are you telling me to like this page? Like knowing that you like have a warrant out for your arrest or whatever it was. I'm like, that is
What?
weird.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. They don't do that
Back
here.
on track.
They make announcements sometimes, but they're always like anonymous. If you follow like the local police and stuff, they do it in our local area Facebook group. They sometimes post things like, "We arrested 2 people last night outside Waitrose. Did you see anything suspicious?" Blah blah blah. But they don't say who the people were. They just say like, "We arrested 2 people," or "There was this
Privacy
incident."
laws. Yeah, if anybody's arrested, you can literally like go on Facebook on their pages. There are Facebook groups for like everybody that's been arrested. There are like there's one it's called like because I'm from Western New York and there's one for Lockport or Niagara County. It's called Niagara County Mugshots, and they take all of that information off of the public information, post it in a Facebook group, and then like everybody goes and like makes fun of the mugshots and
Oh
makes fun of
wow.
what they get arrested for. Like it's crazy.
I
Um,
mean, in a way, that's an incentive not to get arrested for stuff. Maybe. Maybe that's a good thing from that sense.
they
Discourages
even
people
have
from
they even
in a
have
safe passing
something.
over the internet.
Yeah, they even had something where like at the end of the year they like gave like an award to the person that had been posted the most. Like,
Oh
congratulations, Joe
dear.
Smith, you were arrested the most. You were arrested 40 times this year. Like, yeah, it's all public. Anyways, Ivy's getting us back on track here, and she
Yes.
wants to know what your recommendation is for your class prices for referred student. Do you think it's good to keep your regular prices, or do you offer the same prices that you give your other students?
I think this depends on what your pricing strategy is in the first place. Um, personally, like whenever I would generally, like if I'm raising prices, it would just be for new students generally. I mean, there's a lot of debate about this, but like someone's coming through a referral, like if I'm raising prices, I'll tell my current students my prices are going up, but for new students only. So keep paying, because then you'll keep the current price. But if just to let you know, in case you're recommending friends, the price is going up. So I think as long as you pre-warn people that the price is going to be different, they know not to tell their friend, I love this teacher because she's super cheap. She only charges $10 an hour. And then this new student turns up expecting cheap $10 hour classes, and you've in the meantime realized that was a bad strategy and put your prices up. It then gets a bit awkward. So I think if you are going to charge different prices, you have to make sure that your students know that, so that when they do recommend friends, they don't give people the wrong pricing information. Yeah, don't know.
She says, I sometimes give small discounts to my regulars if they purchase a bigger package, and I always wonder if they share that with their friends and referred students. Some of them do. I've definitely had students come to me and be like, well, you're giving Joey, like, for this much a class. And it's like, oh, Joey's been with me for 3 years, and I have chosen not to raise prices, but for him, because he's been with me for 3 years, but I can't run a business on, you know, what I charge Joey, kind of thing. Um, €80 for 8 hours of classes. So is that $10 an hour?
€10 a class.
Is that $10?
I think
That's like
euros are
less than
slightly
$10
more than
an
dollars,
hour.
right? So maybe like $12.
Yeah, that's
Oof.
um
Put your price up a
too
bit.
low. I would bump it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know who your market is, and if they're, I mean, that is, that's less than what I charge for group lessons. I mean, like that, you could do that with group lessons, but like, yeah, I would not charge that. Bump those,
Depends on your
bump.
market and that kind of thing, the group style, but I agree. Like, yeah, put your price up. Know your
Yeah,
value. Charge a
yeah,
bit more than €10 an hour.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. I was like €80. It's like, oh, yeah. I know if you're just starting, it might be. Oh, I'm new. Oh, okay. Wait, why can't I? There we go. I'm new in this sector. Can you please tell me how I can start my business? Um, yeah, follow this YouTube channel. Follow Katie's YouTube channel. You can always send us a message. I have a here. I'll get the link in. It's in the description box too. But I have a monthly membership where we do coaching for a very, very, very affordable price. Where did my thing go? Here we go. And I'll pop this in here for Teacher Boss Society. So I do have a coaching program that you could come into and learn more about everything. As far as teaching you how to start your business, it's not something that I can just like say really quickly on a YouTube channel video like this. You're going to want to know your niche. You're going to want to have a plan. You're going to want to know like what social medias you need to use, social media email marketing. You're going to do email marketing. A website's not the most important thing, but you're going to need social media and email marketing, and you're going to have a plan, and you're going to have a niche. There's my quick 60-second explanation of how to start your business. But if you would like to know more and you'd like to come in, you can come in to Teacher Boss Society. I do have a week free right now, so you could come in and get your first for free and see if it's something that you like. But yeah. And Katie says she charges $60 an hour. Minimum should be $1 per minute. And that's for one-on-one lessons, I'm assuming. So yeah. So you can see they're like $12 an hour versus versus $60 an hour. There's a big difference there.
It also depends on what market you're targeting as well. Like if you find you're struggling to find students who want to pay more, then you need to be targeting a different audience.
Mhm.
Because I think sometimes I've heard teachers say, "Oh, I can't possibly charge more than like $20 an hour or $30 an hour or something like that because all the parents say that other teachers are cheaper than me and I'm too expensive." And like, well, you're targeting the wrong people.
Yeah, and that's the other thing there too is if you are targeting a lower income place, that doesn't mean that you don't have to be paid a livable wage. You change your strategy.
Yeah.
So if you're targeting a place where they cannot afford $60 an hour for an online teacher, then stop doing one-on-one classes, do group lessons, do a subscription-based thing, do pre-recorded lessons, um, do YouTube videos where you teach them and you make money through AdSense. Um, if you're going to be targeting a lower income place, then make it so it fits for them, but you're still getting paid for what you're worth. Does that make sense? Like,
I think that's what it comes back to, having a clear business plan. Like when you put together your business plan, it doesn't have to be a formal, like detailed plan, but you need to look at your target market, understand their needs, understand their budget for things, and you use that to put together a plan that best suits that target audience. And in some cases, one-on-one classes is not within their budget, so don't even offer it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. And it's just everybody's going to be a little bit different. So, like Katie, Read with Teacher Katie is charging $60 an hour. I don't charge $60 an hour. I charge $10 a half hour. Um, and I do group lessons of 10 students. Um, so there are different ways. It's cheaper for the parents, but I end up making more than that. I would never be comfortable, like, to me, charging $10 for a group lesson is easier for me than charging $60 per student for an hour. Um, to me, lower cost subscription programs are easier and more comfortable to do than packages, or pay by the class, or everybody's going to have different things that they do, and it really depends on what you're comfortable with and what your people are comfortable with and making it work. But you should not be like a high value amazing teacher eating ramen noodles because you can't afford, like, a steak. You know what I mean? Like, you should be making your worth, and not struggling. Okay. Um,
I think also bearing in mind the other time you spend on your business. I sometimes hear people say, "Why are people charging $50 or $60 an hour when the minimum wage is, I don't know where it is in the US, but whatever, minimum wage might be like $15 or $20 or something. So how can you possibly charge so much more than minimum wage?" And you're like, well, you've got to think about that 1 hour class also required another hour of planning, sometimes depending on what kind of teaching you're offering, require another hour of planning. I also spend 3 hours advertising to find, students every day. And if you actually add up the time you spend on a business compared to the time you spend teaching, like do the maths. Sometimes the amount the teachers are charging is so little that they're making less than minimum wage in total for the time they're spending on their business. And okay, maybe longer term you've got a plan, but in the short term, maybe you're better off working in a supermarket. And you've got to think, like, do your maths beforehand and plan these things out.
Plus the expenses. So if you have email marketing, you have a website, you have maybe a Canva subscription, or you have a Twinkle subscription, or you have an Abridge Academy subscription. I'll throw that one out there too because that's a really good curriculum to use. So you have like subscriptions to things, you have costs. Okay. And then I don't know what it's like in the UK or any other country that anybody's watching from, but in the US, you're also paying the employer side of the taxes. So if I go and I work at McDonald's is paying tax, like, on my wage, but I know I'm working for me. Now I'm paying that tax on my wage. So I have to pay my taxes and then 15% additional tax. Um, I have to pay for my internet. I have to make sure that I have equipment that works. Like, if I was working at McDonald's, and I say McDonald's, it could be I could be working at a bank. I could be working anywhere, right? Like, if I'm working for an employer and my computer breaks, oh well, I don't have a computer. I can't check my Facebook. My computer breaks. Oh well, I don't have a computer. I don't have a job. Like, it's a huge difference there. Yeah.
Definitely. And I think sometimes Like I've had people sometimes. I had someone recently email me asking like, how can I possibly charge so much for Age Academy curriculum? Which, as you said, wonderful, amazing, totally worth it. Only $10. And someone was like, how can you charge that much money for the curriculum? Like it's outside of my budget. And I was thinking, well, you do realize I budgeted in that $10. The lowest price of the curriculum is $10. $4 of that is already gone on taxes and transfer fees and that kind of thing. So now I've only got $6. Then I've also looked at my business expenses, and I don't want to give all the details, but I spend thousands of dollars a year on costs for things, for running my website, for paying my accountant, who's very expensive, worth it, but it costs money, for subscriptions to like the software and stuff that I use, for marketing, for so many different things you have to spend money on. I'm like, $10 an hour, I'm not charging enough, like it's very difficult. And it's not just about also your costs and making money, but it's also think about the value you add to your customer. So like it was very difficult. You get those kind of things like people that say, oh, how can you charge this much for your tutoring? Don't reply with, well, I've got a budget for my taxes. Reply with, I'm charging this much for my tutoring because it's going to help you achieve blah 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 blah. And if they think, okay, like in my case, my tutoring is helping kids go study abroad. If they get to study abroad, and if they get like a scholarship or something to study abroad, think of the financial value of that scholarship. Think about how studying abroad is going to help them achieve their career plans and the money they're going to make in the future because they've been able to get into a top university because of my tutoring. Then you understand why I'm charging that much money, because that's the value I'm adding. And I think that's the way you sell it to the parent. Even if behind, in the back of your mind, you're thinking my taxes and my bills, because the parent doesn't care about your taxes and your bills, unfortunately.
Yes. Okay. Oh, we had one more comment here. I am also a certified copywriter by Copy Hackers in the Laptop Living. So I write copy for ed tech and online course creators. Okay. Ooh, that's really cool. That's cool. Okay. All right. Was there anything else? Oh, wait. Yes, there was something else. Before we wrap this up, because I think that we've gone off track a whole bunch of times. So I think we're getting ready
Sorry.
here to wrap this up. But is there anybody that, if anybody is like, okay, yes, I'm ready to go all in. I feel like I'm ready to create a referral program and I want to do this. Katie has a completely free, is it a week-long boot camp?
Yeah, 3 sessions. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And it was meant to start next week, but I've had to delay it by a week because I realized I booked a holiday and I'd forgotten about it. So it's starting the week after next, on the 10th.
Holiday. What holiday is it?
I'm going away to visit. She visiting some family.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
On a
sorry.
holiday.
Okay.
Sorry, I forgot. I'm British. Okay, we say holiday, not vacation.
I was like, what, Children's Day? Children's Day is coming up soon. Oh, sorry.
I booked
Katie
a
and I,
vacation. Sorry,
we go through this all the time. So
I'm
talking
going to
about
go to someone else's beach. That's my
yeah.
plan.
Okay. 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 So yeah. So anyways, see, we're off track again there.
Yeah.
Um, but she's got this free boot camp that's going to walk you through the process of creating your own referral marketing program, and uh, getting students in. Is it organic or paid?
So we'll talk about different kind of strategies, and that's the idea. So we'll talk a bit about sort of incentives that aren't necessarily financial incentives, but ways of incentivizing referrals, different ways of setting up referral schemes, how to actually help. Actually, firstly, it's about helping your students recommend you, and also then how to convince them to recommend you, and of course then what to offer to sort of encourage that referral and how to make it easy for yourself and for your students. So we'll talk about kind of how to make a referral scheme actually successful, rather than the sort of default thing that a lot of teachers do, which is just they recommend a friend to get a free class, because that doesn't really work.
I love it. Okay, so it's going to be basically like not a like it's not going to be like a step 1, step 2, step 3 kind of thing. It's going to be one like how to create a referral program that works for your specific individual business, which is really cool. Okay, that's awesome. So the link to that is in the description box. If you haven't joined Katie's group, my group, those links are in the description box as well. Her Facebook group is the Xiaohong Show for Teachers, and where she talks more like everything that she's got going on. So you want to make sure that you're following her too. I stopped offering hour classes. I recently offered parents either a price hike or a lower length of classes by 15 minutes. Oh, okay. So you give them a choice. That's kind of cool. Okay. I don't like to give choices. because people have a hard time making choices. I feel that it usually works in my personal experience. Again, individual businesses, individual strategies. But I feel that like my people, when I give them choices, it shuts them down. Nobody likes to make choices.
That's interesting. I think the solution is to give them you've got to break it down into two things. If you give them one option, then you're actually giving them a choice between yes or no. Whereas if
Yeah.
you give them two options, you give them the choice between an option that's slightly better for you and an option that's a bit worse but you still like, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about prep time. My classes take at least an hour prepping on each side or each class, sorry. I think referral marketing should definitely be a strategy, not a
Yes.
one-off thing, as I still do. Yeah. And Ivy said just looking forward to the boot camp. I'm going to go sign up for the boot camp too. I think it sounds like a fun thing to do. And I'd love to see how you do things. Okay, so the link for that is in the description box. If you're watching this, leave a comment here. So if you're going to be there and you're coming from this YouTube video, leave a comment in this video saying you signed up so that I know like who I can expect to see in there too, because I'm going to do it too. And I will see you guys all in the boot camp. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for coming here, Katie.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for having me. Super excited to see everyone in the boot camp to boost
Yes.
your referral marketing strategies and really
All
appreciate
right.
your support with everything, Gillian.
All right. Bye, guys.